One.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Finance Agents Live. Today, man, I got to keep track of our number here. Today, we are doing show number, oh, man, I can't even see it, 27? Darren, anything? Okay, 27. Finance Agents Live number 27. Today is a big show for us because we are interviewing our office number 100, our 100th member office. Steve is actually on the phone right now, ready to get started. Before I get started, though, I wanted to talk about a couple little cool things that are current and new. Darren, if you could move forward on the slides. First of all, if you were on our show last Friday, it was a fun show. We actually had fewer people on the show than normal, but it was a lot more fun because we had a lot of interactivity. We had prizes. We had questions with prizes. I want to say congratulations to the 5 winners from last show, which would be Frank, Lynn, Ryan, Stan, and Crystal. If you want to go back and see what happened, go back and see last Friday's show. We did some Q&A on what are the different stats for the member office and what's been going on since we started. So a lot of fun stats there. Another interesting thing is if you've been watching over the last couple weeks, you've heard me say a few times we're coming up on agent number 20,000, which is sort of a milestone for us. And we're excited to be coming up on it right now. As of about an hour ago, we have agent number 19,964. So that means we're 36 agents away from number 20,000. Remember, if you sign up as agent number 20,000, you get free recruiter for a year. So unless we find that you went and created 6 accounts to try to do it. Don't game the system, but we're excited. This could happen literally today or tomorrow. You never know. It's happening quickly and coming up soon. I'm looking forward. I will announce on the show who agent number 20,000 is and who's going to be the winner of recruiter for a year. But to get on to today's show is an interview with office number 100. Steve Hoffman, the new owner of Sora Funding, so new that we don't have the website up, we don't have a logo, we have anything. He just signed up. It would have been at the end of the week before last, so it was about 7 or 8 days into being in office with us. I think we have his LinkedIn profile here if you want to see a little shot of who we're going to be talking to today. Steve Hoffman, and I have him on the phone. I have some questions lined up, but I was also open for you guys to throw in some questions as well. So, can you hear me, Steve?
I'm there.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on to the show. We appreciate it. We are, like you said, I don't know if you even knew you were about to be office number 100 because we did announce it on the show, but I'm excited it's going to be you. So, if you don't mind, let's just get into our questions here. So, you've come on as a member office with us. Why don't you tell us about your background? What have you been doing the last 10, 20, 30 years, however long you've been working professional?
So my primary background is accounting and finance. And over the past 4 years or so, I have held several different positions. I am not an auditor. I make that distinction because I find myself more in what I like to call corporate finance, and I've had some other experience as well. I mean, I've sold real estate for several years. I've got a lot of deals under my belt, and but basically, you would call me a controller, director of finance, that type of title. And
okay.
Currently, I am still employed, doing the same thing. I'm the director of finance for the Inland Press Association, which is a national newspaper trade press association.
Okay, great. So that's one of you touched on something that some people have confusion about. So as finance agents, we're talking about funding. That's the type of finance that we involve ourselves in. And for you as a finance professional, what that really meant was accounting. So accounting and cash flow management for what size companies have you been doing this work for?
Okay, so I was with a not-for-profit, which was pretty huge in the Chicago area called Hispanic Housing. And I had personal responsibility for around 18 different properties, and I did all the financial accounting for those properties. I was the director for a $8 million import-export company back in the 80s, Harbin Imports, and we we imported different types of giftware and housewares and sold them to the ultimate distributors. Maybe some people can remember a company called Anesco out of Chicago, and Division Sales. We used to have Walmart in their infancy come into our trade shows and buy all our samples, and then go to China and buy the factories and distribute on their own. But
okay.
That was another organization I was with.
Great.
And I started my career with Helene Curtis Industries. I don't know if anybody remembers them. They've been sold to Lever Brothers over the years, but I was their accounting director there, or not accounting director, but accounts payable director directly out of school, and had about 12 people under me, and that was a big organization there.
Great. So in your roles working in finance, were you ever in charge, or did you ever participate in obtaining funding for one of the companies that you worked at?
Oh yes, I have. I did. Worked again. When I left Helene Curtis, I was recruited by one of my vendors at Helene Curtis, and it was a import-export firm out of Elk Grove, Illinois. And I arranged all his financing for him and funding, increased his bank loans, and changed his guarantee position around to a more favorable situation.
Are you saying you removed a personal guarantee, or you removed properties that he had collateralizing loans, or?
Yeah, I got his personal guarantees removed, some of his property removed, and then got him set up on a receivable guarantee. You know? Okay,
that's great.
They weren't factoring, but in the old days, if you would agree to a lockbox situation where all of your receipts were coming in through the bank, and you had some good credit history and also some longevity as far as being in business, they would relax some of the personal guarantee standards and kind of build your business capital line and allow you to move on.
Okay. So how did you find the process of obtaining financing? As an employee of the company, going to the different banks, was it difficult or was it easy? You were a little bit larger companies, which generally means you probably had long-standing bank relationships. Did you end up getting these financing from the bank you were at, or did you have to go to a different bank?
So what happens generally then was they would be trying to increase their portfolio, so they would call on certain targeted companies, all right? And then you could actually leverage their offers against your actual banking relationships because the bank that you were with was doing the same thing, and maybe they hadn't paid any attention to you in a while, and all of a sudden you came on their radar, and you could actually move forward and probably make a better deal in that way. So it wasn't actually, I didn't do a whole lot of startup funding back in those days because I was working for established organizations. But being able to deal with the different banks coming in and trying to gain business, you're able to learn new things, increase your own ability with the company that you were working for, and then leverage off against your current banking relationship, or move on if it was a better offer.
Right. Okay. So generally, you would wait for someone to come to you, and then you would look at the offer they provided, bounce it off your current bank, and see what was best, and then go with the better option. Right.
That was it. Because that was it generally. But if one of my owners would come to me and say, we need to do some different sourcing and different banking relationships, then of course I would go out and approach organizations on my own.
Did you have people who were not necessarily directly working for the bank ever approach you to offer financing?
No, Tim, I'm going back, a lot of alternative financing situations I didn't see back in the 80s and 90s. Not saying they weren't there, but it was more traditional at that point.
Yeah, well, we offer traditional financing as well. I'm just curious, and there's a lot of people that do offer SBA loans. You mentioned before that you got an SBA loan once. Can you kind of talk through what that process was like, how long it took, how difficult it was?
So several years back, other parts of my family have been in the food and beverage business forever, and we put together a restaurant back in the early 80s. And we wanted some additional financing above and beyond what we'd already raised on our own. And so we went the SBA route. As you mentioned in one of your trainings, the government obviously doesn't lend money to small businesses. They actually guarantee a portion of the collateral with another banking institution. So really the pitfalls were just timing and then different requirements that would come back. And we were successful. So it worked. I mean, we got our funding. It's just that it took a lot of time and there were a lot of hoops to jump through.
Right.
Even if you have a very experienced individual taking the application and putting it together, you don't know what's going to come back once you, let's say, send it to the competing banks that want to try and see if they want the deal.
Yeah, that's one of the places we really earn our money is previewing, knowing where the pitfalls are, or helping people work around them. That's one of the biggest value adds we have. Okay, great. So how long did the SBA process take? Do you remember? Was it a month, or was it more than that?
No, well, in our case, back, and now I'm really dragging out of memory here because it was over 20 years ago. But I'm thinking it was 6 months at least, and I don't think it was the SBA that had the problem. I think we got our approval from them pretty early on in the process, and then it was getting to whatever bank wanted to pick up the deal.
Okay. All right, good. All right, so now back to working with us. How long have you known about or worked with finance agents? When did you come across us, and what was your initial interaction?
So interestingly enough, I think I picked you up either in LinkedIn or possibly you all were advertising for agents or something on Craigslist in Illinois or somewhere around here, and it looked interesting to me, so I clicked through, and then I got on and I listened to your introductory videos and things, and I started to look into it. And of course, it took me a lot longer to pull the trigger than I wanted to, but since I was still employed and I had some projects that were laid on to me, I lost some time and impetus. So it's been about a year, and I've read a lot of stuff and listened to a lot of your preliminary videos, and I knew a while back that I was much interested in doing this. I had looked into a couple other places that were offering alternative financing, but specifically their offers were basically, to the retail trade, factoring daily receipts and, selling credit card info and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I wasn't really interested in being pigeonholed in that. And quite frankly, what really kept me going with finance agents was one of your videos explained the difficulty in putting together the platform that you guys have put together. Mm-hmm. Okay, both from a educational point of view or informational point of view, through client management, through email, through all the way that you offer your business and do your things. And I knew that to be true because I had tried putting some of these components together on my own, and it was impossible. I'm not skilled at it. I didn't have the money to go out and spend millions of dollars to have somebody else do it for me. So that stuck with me, and I just kept going and watching and waiting for the right time for me, and thank God the beginning of this year it was, and so I jumped in.
Great. Well, awesome. Well, we're glad to have you aboard. What is it about running a funding company that is interesting to you?
So, that's a funny question, but I was looking for something to do myself. After selling real estate and closing many $million worth of deals, it was clear to me that my most precious commodity was time.
Right.
Working on my own and not having a real estate agency of my own, but actually following up every lead and running around showing houses, setting up listings, et cetera, I did quite well. But I'm I'm getting older now, and I'm getting a little tired of doing all the running around. And I was looking for something to where I could leverage my time and continue to show some growth potential and try and build a sustaining positive revenue stream. And so what I read and what I've seen and what I've listened to, I'm sincerely convinced I can do that with finance agents.
Great. Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to doing it. So I guess you talked about it a little bit already. What made you decide to partner with us? I guess through our trainings or videos. Have you done any fundings with us already, or are you just getting started now you're just going to be getting started on bringing in clients now?
I'm just getting started now.
Okay. What funding programs, I'm not sure how much of you said you were able to get through some of the training even before the call. What funding programs are you most interested in?
So this is strictly based on my background and potential networking sources that I have. And the two that specifically trip my trigger are the equipment financing and then, of course, the commercial real estate.
Right.
I like the idea. I like the idea of it being, equity based. And I do have, through my many years of business, I do have some networking potential there to where I can find people that can help me build the lead pipeline, et cetera.
Okay, great. I like it when people come in and start with CRE because, you just get one deal and you made back your initial investment, and that's rewarding. I always like it when people hit that goal of at least earning back the money that they put in to pay for all the tools to get started. With your background in real estate, that definitely seems like a good direction to go. Another thing that I mentioned before to you, just to say it again, is with your understanding of financials and business financials, you might be a great person for helping other people get into the SBA pipeline. And unfortunately, once you get them in, you don't have to go through all those steps because that's what we do with our clients. But you'll understand the different things and help them know how to structure it. So that might be a good direction as well. Of course, equipment leasing, as I've said in other trainings, is one of the most diverse types of financing that can be offered in more scenarios than anything else. So that's a good pick also. Now, are you personally more interested in, there's a lot of different ways you can run an office with us, but our offices tend to break up into two general categories. The offices where it's a single owner or partnership where they just want to offer the financing directly, or are you more interested in growing a team, running a small company where you have a sales floor and you're not offering the financing, your people are? What seems more interested to you?
So I'm quite interested in building a small team. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned before, in my real estate experience, time is my most precious commodity, and I didn't have enough to do more than what I could handle on my own. Okay, and I think in that particular scenario, and I'm hoping to gain the same kind of knowledge here with finance agents, and I'm familiar with a lot of your offerings and some of the technical aspects of it, et cetera, that once I get going, I have, at my stage of my career, I have more I have a lot to give others to help in that impetus. Right. And to build a small office and help people that might want to be involved with me to get deals done and move deals towards finance agents.
Yeah, you've managed a lot of people over the years. You've had a lot of direct reports over the years, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's definitely good to build on that experience. Some people who've never managed somebody before, there's a lot to learn when you start managing people for the first time. I say that from experience, but if you already have that under your belt, then that's a big advantage you have in order to get ramped up. So we've touched on it a little bit, and then obviously we have a whole process we're going to put you through. But have you already started determining your initial target market?
So I did the preliminary video on that, training on that, and so it started the wheels turning, and I see the absolute wisdom in that, and so I am eagerly ready to go into the next steps and develop the marketing strategy, a lot more pointed than what I've got going on in my mind right now. When you first get a lot of this stuff in your head, whether you've been doing it for the first time or you've done it forever, your mind starts to race and you go all over the place. And so I'm going through that part right now and then just trying to rein it in. And I will ultimately get down to specifics on a target market. But it will be probably with in the equipment financing or the CRE area there, and I'll work through your system and develop a couple of straight strategies to do this.
Okay, awesome. For anybody listening who isn't familiar with it, we help our member offices develop a very specific target market and focus, which usually is a combination of the programs they offer, the people they're marketing to, and the resources and connections they already have in order to help them succeed very quickly. And because one of the biggest things that stops offices is they try to do everything and they don't create a unique enough proposition to the people they talk to. So that every client they talk to is looking for something different, and it takes a long time to get really used to it. So this is one of the quickest ways to help you succeed fast, as opposed to, I've been talking to some people, and some general wisdom I've heard from other business owners that it could take 3 years or 5 years before you really know if your business is going to succeed. Most of the people that come in with us don't have 3 to 5 years. So we need to figure out how to get you doing funding as quickly as possible so you get that cash flow so that you really can survive and grow. All right, next question is, what would you consider your personal most important goal for owning your own business?
So at my stage in life, I'm number one, looking for something to do once I stop working for Inland Press, and that could be at any point in time because of my age. All right. And with that in mind, I want to be able to make my own decision as to when I stop versus being told when I stop. And then I'm very interested in income streams, especially at retirement age. And I'm a big proponent of learning and trying to build or establish your own positive income streams that can show some positive growth down the future. And that's what I see here. I mean, I'm not... I don't know everything in the world, and I don't know a whole lot about finance agents yet, but I see a lot of potential based on my years of looking at a lot of this stuff and everything else, and I think it's a comfortable fit for me that I can actually move into this and create that income stream that I'm looking for. Okay,
great. Yeah, you're doing what I like to call the new retirement, which is very common. Somebody's had a career, they've made money, they've gotten to a good place in their life, and now they're looking to make a transition. A lot of people go off and buy franchises, but the cost to purchase a franchise is astronomical, right? You want to buy a McDonald's, you need $1 million, and now you're saddling yourself with, maybe $800,000 in debt at a point in your life where you're trying to get rid of debt. So that's one of the things that was very important to us in order to keep the investment as low as possible and give you the tools to succeed without putting a lot of extra money in. But this is definitely that. There's a lot of different income streams, but if you build an office that it works for itself, the goal is to get to the point where you can remove yourself and it'll keep running. So we're on the same page on that. The last question, which sort of goes along with the previous question I asked, is what would happen? I want to know your description of this business as a success. What would happen where, say, 3 or let's say 5 years from now. 5 years from now, you're going to look back and say, this was a good decision, I achieved these things, and that's what I was looking for. What would you say needs to happen for you to consider this to be a success?
That in 5 years, I still want to get up in the morning and do it every day.
All right. That's good. That's a good way to look at it. Well, I've been doing it for 10 years, and I still enjoy it. So, well, hopefully we can make that happen for you. All right, so if you're on here and you're watching, Steve, thank you very much. And by the way, if anybody has any questions they want to throw in for Steve, feel free to go ahead and do so. I'll announce the next interviews we're going to be having after this. But Steve, we're very glad to have you on board, and thank you so much for doing the show. We're glad to be working with you as an office, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that we hit all the goals and achievements that you're looking for in order to have this be fun and good something to do where you can make a lot of money. Interviews we're going to have over the rest of the week. Today is Tuesday. Tomorrow is Wednesday. You're going to have Ryan from Gravity Finance on here. He came on last August, right at the beginning of August. It's one of the fastest growing new offices we've ever had. So we're going to have him on tomorrow, and he's going to talk about what helped him get running, what's working for him, what are the struggles he's been going through in order to grow. So he's going to be on tomorrow, so come back for that. On Thursday, we're going to have Anthony from Prestige Business Financial Solutions on, and Anthony is one of our longest relationships. We've been working with Anthony way before we had the member office structure as an agent. So he'll be able to talk about what's been working for him and what it's been like growing with finance agents over the years. So he's a good person to ask sort of long-term questions for. Then we'll round it out the end of the week on Friday with Larry and Mac from Centex. They're actually going to be coming into the office, so you won't just be looking at me. You'll be looking at multiple people. And they signed up pretty recently, and they just completed their training. And literally last week, they just turned in the first engagement agreement for the first funding client. So what I'm trying to show you here is a few different options, right? Somebody who just came on, why they signed up. Somebody who started last year and was able to grow very quickly. Somebody who just completed the training and is just getting started. And then somebody we've worked with for a very long time. And we'll do other interviews over time as other people come into it. But with that, you get a pretty good picture of the lifespan of working together. I don't see any new questions coming in, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up for the day. Thanks again, Steve. If you're new to the show, make sure to subscribe. Your likes and subscription help us provide more of these shows. And then we'll wrap it up for the day. Thanks, everybody, for everything, and we look forward to doing a lot more deals together. Talk to you soon.